Hello, hello. Hey everyone,
Hello.
welcome.
Hi.
Gosh, so good to land and be here and at the very beginning of our journey together today for a few hours. Time together to create and explore and see what arises, just stepping just a little into the unknown and seeing what could be. And so I'm Chantal and I'm here with Bianca and Noni. We are from Realm of Becoming, and we are here to gift to you an experience and to experience this with you. We're going to go through a painting process together. So we've got our supplies set up, as you can see. We've got acrylic paints, we've got canvases, brushes, and we've also got journal and papers, and you're welcome to use whatever you feel called to, whatever you have there, whether you're following along with us now or whether you are watching this later. And our topic today is a fascinating one because we're exploring self-worth and what this means to us individually, and going in whatever direction that topic takes us, and what that means for each of us personally. And we're going to go through doing that through creating today. So I would love to hear from both of you, and just hear how you're doing today, and what's coming up for you as we're starting.
Hello. Would you like to lean in, Bianca? You and I both leaned into the seat. well, yeah, if we just open in terms of conversation and what's brought us here, we've had a discussion around what self-worth is, and we each had where we're at in life stories that we could talk to. And I think it's a really important thing, just in terms of an act of value for self, to allow this time and this space to explore what that means. Bring it conscious, bring it to awareness. Let's set aside 4 hours in our life to explore a topic that potentially, if left unconsidered, we might be living in ways that are conditioned, or that certain belief systems that we've been brought up with, or that, we're seeking externally from our loved ones, from our peers at school, wherever you may be. If you're not bringing this into your awareness and considering how it is that you value yourself and self-worth, then perhaps you're not being fully you, that you're molding yourself, putting on capes and cloaks to present yourself to the world in a way that someone else may value you, rather than you yourself valuing yourself. So hey, 4 hours, let's dive deep if we can. Let's go wherever we want to individually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you touched on something there, Noni, that was coming up when we were talking during the week about just showing up for ourselves like you would show up for someone else. And so often when we don't show up for ourselves, we will often go, or we can put ourselves in that, I can't be bothered, I feel too tired, or I can't show up for myself. I can't find that bit of energy to give myself the energy and the care and the love that I need. So I certainly know that today I'm pushing through, and I'm coming and giving to myself to find that time for me to create. Rather than allowing the other things to take up the time.
Yeah, I love what you both just shared, and I really resonate with that, Bianca, about making that decision to show up and go, okay, today I'm not feeling like, as energized as I often am. However, I am energized though, if I really feel into it, I am energized by being here, knowing that, oh, we've set aside this time and I'm going to be here and be present with it and be with both of you and our community and whoever's watching and taking part from afar. And we're here in our different places around the world, creating together and looking at this together. And so I can feel there is some energy coming through as I feel into that.
And that is so joyous, isn't it? That is feeding and nourishing. And it's all the other. It's the external perceptions of judgment and things that might go, oh, I can't do that today because I'm not X, Y, Z, or I can't do this because this, and this, or I can't. So just allowing ourselves to put that aside for us, because so often you'll push through those things for someone else. You go, if you'd committed to someone else, you go, oh, I'll do that because, and you'll take a little bit of yourself away, or I'll do this and you'll take a little bit of yourself away. But when it's coming time to ourselves, it's the reverse. It's like, oh, I'm not good enough, so I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, I don't have this, so I can't give to myself here. Mm-hmm. So it's about pushing through those little niggles and those discomforts to go, no, actually, I am worthy of having that. I am worthy of pushing through those things to give myself that time, or to give myself that love or that space.
Yeah.
As we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like literal space and time space and metaphysical space. Yeah. And that is probably quite a good segue into our opening, is that creating space. So we might move into actually literally making that space on our canvas as a portal, as an opening into exploring these themes in a way that is letting go of the conscious mind. We're just allowing all parts of our being and our consciousness to dance with this subject of becoming worthy. But before we do that, let's take a moment to set the scene and to create some metaphysical space by doing a little blessing. I'm going to start by lighting a candle, and then I'm going to turn to just to acknowledge my canvas. I should be doing that up here where you can see. And just light that candle, just to mark that opening of that sacred space, because that's really what we're doing, is we are creating that sacred container to hold our visioning. We're going to use our canvas as the center point for that visioning. So just take some time to make a connection with this canvas as if it was a living being, that it had presence and that it can give back to you as you give to it, and that you can enter into a dialogue and a communication with that canvas. You might have a spray or a smudge or an incense that you want to use in the air around. I'm going to use this beautiful Australian Bushflowers space clearing essence just to clear any energies out of my space. I won't use it directly on the canvas because it might stop the paint sticking. I'm just going to take a little bit of water from my spray bottle and put it on my hands, and then greet all parts of my painting. And I'm just going to give it a little spray down, just a light spray down with some water. And then I'm going to look at this lovely array of paints. I have a rainbow of paints here. You may already have a colour that's already starting to call to you. I know, Noni, you have some colours that were calling to you over the night.
Yeah.
I as yet not. So I'm just going to take a moment and contemplate what it is that I'm doing when I am opening this portal, and what colour, what shape this opening is going to be. I'm looking here at this nice dark violet. Oh, before I do that, I am just going to put on an apron because I don't like getting paint all over my clothes. And I tend to be a bit of a messy painter, as you can see. So.
I think you got it on the wall last time, Bianca.
I did. Not used to having not a specific space, so I may have to, our walls can always be painted, hey. So I'm just going to take that paint and I'm just going to allow my hand to make a gesture of some sort of space. It can be a mark, but it would be nice if you were creating some sort of opening. I'm having a chuckle at myself now at the shape that's come up here, because it's reminiscent of something that we were discussing during the week. But any shape at all is going to be totally okay. I'm just going to keep it really light and free. Can use a little bit of water just to move some paint around. I'm just going to rub into those white areas a little bit. And you may want to stay just with one colour, but I've got another colour that's wanting to join this opening. So I'm going to add another colour in with that.
You're both using colours I dreamed of, and I'm using a colour I didn't.
Oh, so the magenta was in the dream?
The pink, the puce almost, yeah.
And you've gone with a non-dream colour.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know, right? In the moment, what's going to show up?
It's where my hand went without any imposition, it's just,
and without analysing. Just that's where you're going. Yeah, love it.
So we might even take a moment we're going to go and do a little bit of journaling soon after some more prompts, but we might want to, in that time, take some time to write down a little bit that came up about this, because I know for me, I've already got a flood of information coming through. And that can happen at any time entering a painting process when we are working with intention. We haven't even set our intention yet, but for me, because we've been discussing the idea around what the intention might be for a couple of days, as soon as I've gone to make that mark on the page, extra information is already pouring forth that I wasn't aware of. So yeah, we can chat about that later, as long as I write it down, because as in that dream realm, if we don't write our dreams down, they'll often slip away. And that's the same with this, the information that we get through the intentional painting process. It's similar to that dream realm. Whilst we are drawing it into the physical with our painting, sometimes the knowings that we get from that are as slippery as the knowings we get from dreams. So it's really good to tie them down with some writing so that we can hold on to them, anchor them in this physical world. I think I'm going to do a reading now about intention from one of my favourite books that's been a favourite book of mine for a couple of decades. I just love it. Art is a Spiritual Path by Pat Allen. So thanks, Pat. And here in this chapter is called the Practice of Intention, Divine Alignment. So it's the first act of initiating an art experience before making a single mark is the creation of an intention to guide our work. Take a few moments to become quiet and go within, to create a space that will ignite the spark of imagination. We must make room to clear out whatever distracts us to discover our intention. And that's what we've gone and done first now, is we've taken some time to call out a space, to carve a space for ourselves in the midst of all of what's happening in our lives, to create a sacred container to create and craft our intention. So just to discover our intention, we may meditate, focus on our breathing, or free write until an intention takes shape. We may arrive knowing what we seek, or we may arrive with worries and tasks to do later, clinging to our consciousness like so many post-it notes. It's a beautiful chapter. We might do some more reading from it at another time. But for now, what I'd like you to do is to find a piece of paper or a journal, and we're going to take a few minutes to ponder and to write around some. You can free write on becoming worthy or the subject of self-worth, if you like, or you can consider some prompts. We've got 3 prompts that you might consider today. My blocks around becoming worthy are clearing space for becoming worthy is, and becoming worthy feels like. And you may use any of those just to spring forth, and just allow your pen to go in whatever direction it likes. Don't allow yourself to restrict yourself. It's just start with a blurt. Allow whatever thoughts, words, things are coming to your mind, just allow them to flow onto the page. And towards the end of that, we'll craft that into an intention that we will put onto our painting to begin our process. So, Chantal, we might like some quiet music just to mark that time.
Yeah, I'm going to put some music on, and I'm also going to share the prompts on the screen as well.
Lovely. Thank you. I will just... How are you going, Noni? You've got a big smile on your face looking up there. Seems like you enjoyed that.
I did. A
Or
great
you still on mute? Oh no, that was me. I turned the music down.
wonderful choice of music, Chantel. I really enjoyed that free write. It just flowed and it felt very succinct. Like I didn't take up multiple pages, but yeah, it just flowed. I've got a new form of shorthand. It just I didn't even spend time writing all the letters.
I love it.
And then from that distilled the intention, just like that. Sometimes it comes and sometimes it needs some more listening, but this time,
I was really surprised in the direction mine took, because I expected it to feel or be a particular way, and it was completely a surprise, a really beautiful surprise. But it was really lovely. And
shall we share? I'm happy to share.
I would love to, for us all to share.
Sure. So I can share my my free write, and then, because it's not that long, and then my intention at the end of that. So I said, becoming worthy feels like a gift, like a package of love, a present of all presents to myself that lights me up and fills my life with joy, clarity, ease, and flow. It is sunny mornings in bed with a bright mind and a heart full of love, opening to the best gift, surrounded by my family, but not bombarded by them. Their presence does not disturb my inner bliss or my sense of self. My intention is to feel the love, bliss, flow, and ease that self-love gives me at all times in my life. And so when I take that to the canvas, I will just create that to I feel. So I feel the love, bliss, flow, and ease.
Love it. It's beautiful. And I love what you wrote as well around it to get to that. Like, it's so visual for me. Like what you were describing, it's like, wow, like it gave me a little snippet into what your journey was just then, what your experience was just then.
Yay. That's lovely.
Well, I can share what came out for me. I was also surprised because I didn't actually want to write a lot. Normally I write a lot, and instead I wanted to do doodling and writing very few words. And so I was looking at the prompts, and I just wanted to note down though that as we were opening the portal, I felt a lot of relief from that sense of openness and spaciousness. So that was nice. And then the word blocks in the prompts stood out to me. So I wrote blocks, but then all I wanted to do was draw daisies. And then there were these words, grow like you mean it. And no one gains from hiding your sparkle. And we are love. And then what happened for me was a lot of visuals. And so it was kind of like looking at different directions, kind of navigating like different perspectives and opening up to like, what's the whole 360 view and what other angles could we look at things from? And so my intention is very distilled to simply know love. No, as in to know love, not no, like, just to clarify. Confused about that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. The visual I had was like immediately before I even put pen to paper was a glacier. So this icy colors, and it was almost like this held structure. And when I put the pen to the paper, what came through, so I led with the becoming worthy feels like a melting snowball that has carried the stories of years gone by, releasing debris until the purity of me is left shining back at the sun.
Wow.
And I guess it's that analogy of that held structure that is almost got like these walls that is just releasing and allowing to be. And it is at that same point also bringing into awareness, that being So it's enjoying that moment and just shining would seem to be the message. Just shine. That's all there is.
Yeah.
And
I love the quality of the light through everyone's visioning.
Yeah.
It's different, but it has a very similar quality. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, something bright interwoven.
Yeah.
It.
Yeah. Because that's certainly with mine, like I didn't necessarily describe the light, but that was all of the things that were coming were, it's like they were popping out of the light, like they were just the material manifestation of that glow that is that. Anyway.
Yeah, I like that description. That feels very tangible.
Yeah.
You can see that.
I actually, the other day, I shared on Twitter a story where we were being asked to share something that's positive. And for the first time in public ever, probably with anyone, I grabbed some of my mum's poetry and I shared that poem. And it was all about glow. Huh?
Yeah. That's wonderful. I love that we are starting to enter a space in our society where we can talk about self-love and that it's starting to be accepted and not seen as twee. Because for so long it's been particularly in the art and creative world as well, it's not something that is okay to express. So here's to bringing this energy out for ourselves and for everyone, and to go, it's completely okay to make art about self-love and filling yourself with bliss and joy. And we can make amazing art through that. And even if we don't, if you feel amazing, who cares?
Right? Yeah.
So that's really important thing that I'm not sure that we discussed enough. Like with this is a process painting, and we may end up with a beautiful painting at the end of it. We may not, but it's a journey into discovering our truth through the medium of paint. Yeah. So we are allowing ourselves to be as free as we can through that. We're not going to allow our mind to critique our way into doing things in the way that we always have. Otherwise, we would already know this state that we are tapping into. Yeah. All right. So take a moment now to make sure that your intention is in a form that you'd like to put it onto the paper. So something that is tangible and present tense, that's funny. Might be present sense.
It could be.
You may want to put it, do I want to turn it? Feels silly, but I want to turn my painting already. Just going to.
I want to move, turn my canvas around the other way.
I'm like, that seems ridiculous. I just want to turn my painting upside down. And as I did that, it said, give to yourself first before you give to others. Oh. That was just like flipping it. It was like just that act of flipping it on its head was because I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like in the mind judging me. Well, it's like, it's hard. What's the point of turning it upside down already? But that's a really important thing for me that was coming through then, was that I will often like go to help others. It's not like I don't help myself, but my inclination is to help others before I help myself.
Yeah.
So I need to flip that on its head. And yes.
Yes, it's a lovely example of how subtle that those thoughts can be, right? How subtle those ideas can be. So are we paying attention? And what are we seeing when we're paying attention?
And this is so funny. I have no idea what color I want to write my intention in. It's that really simple. Okay.
Depending on what climate you're in, if you want the paint to flow onto the canvas as you write, you may want to just spray it with a little water like I did.
And I'm going to write, mine is quite long, but I'm going to attempt to write it inside my portal. No, it wants to come out.
Might also want to grab a camera and just take some photos as you move through as well. It's always nice just to see the painting evolve and have that snapshot. Quite often I will write an intention and then, you get so present throughout the painting that although the intention is liminally held, it can change, and that's a part of the allowing process. So if I take a photo, well, then I have a memory of what it used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to get a photo of mine, I think.
And I'm going to allow it just to drip this one. Oh, I love dripping.
It's so fun, right?
Yeah.
I normally do that. Today, for some reason, I'm not feeling called to do that too much.
Just the coral-like structures when you have that deeper color on the white canvas. Yeah, it's pretty special.
They really are. They're
And
so
if you're going to do
beautiful,
this at
aren't
home, put down a drop sheet.
they? Yes.
Makes the experience much more enjoyable. Okay. Delicious. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Let's do
Okay.
it.
So our intentions are on the canvas at this stage, and we're going to shift into mark making. So nothing designed, nothing preconceived, just at the canvas and making marks. Whilst we do that, I'm going to invite you initially to contemplate how it is that self-worth might be showing up in your life in a way that is you measuring yourself and comparing yourself to. So quite often we might say, oh, I measure myself and my self-worth around my academic achievements or the success of my business, or some folks, their appearance. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if your clothes aren't up to a certain sort of idealized standard, a belief of how you should look, well, then your self-worth may be diminished somehow if you allow it. But I guess this is an invitation just to explore how it is that you may be influenced in these ways. And so we'll be choosing one color, whatever color inspires you. Just select a color. Now, nothing that we do here may even show up on the final painting at the end. So just allow yourself to be free in the color that you choose and the marks that you make. We'll be doing this 3 times. So this initial one is just looking at that comparative measure way. So I'm going to give you a few things that probably are common. And if I list them, if there's anything in this list that tugs at your attention, just take a note of that. And as you make marks at the canvas, just consider how it is that is influencing you and see if something comes up. Just contemplate. It's an invitation. Mm. Yeah? Okay. So around self-worth and common ways that people may measure themselves to others, there may be through appearance, perhaps bank balance, social media following, relationship status, age, success in business, scores in your exams, perhaps even the number of friends. Now, if something else comes up, by all means, contemplate with that. But let's make some marks at the canvas. We're going to be doing this 3 times with 3 different colours. The idea is not necessarily to completely fill the canvas, to leave some white parts at the end. So just to give you an idea of how much fill we want on this canvas. Yeah. Now you may choose for these to be patterned as well, or a similar type shape all the way through as I'm doing. Just hold and contemplate those prompts. Notice now as you're making these marks, if your inner critic is coming forward, if there is anything that is really making you feel not so good in the body around self-worth and where it is that you are on this journey of exploration into the topic. And if you feel like it, also write some notes down. Feel free to jump onto the journal and just write down what comes up, just to express it. But also, yeah, mark making is a good way to move it and shift it and bring it to mind as well. Maybe something new has come up for you. Write that down. Did either of you want to talk through this point, or would you like to move on to the second one and we'll just allow people to process these as they come up for themselves on paper?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think let's keep it flowing through.
It feels like
feels
we're
good.
up the flow. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just going to select a second color. And at this point, consider your self-worth and how you feel with those close influences in your life. So is your worthiness perhaps influenced by the value you receive or feel that you receive from your family and loved ones? Perhaps those that would grade you in your exams, you know, the scholars in your life, those that are your guides and your educators and those that you really look up to in learning from. Does that influence your self-worth? Just picture how you are in those circumstances if they relate to you. It may be that showing up in life as a virtuous person is a way that you find self-worth. So there are many different influences that drive us, and also that we find value within ourselves by living to those standards or showing up in a way that is seeking and receiving that value from someone close and dear. Yeah, so gaining approval, that sort of thing. If there's anything there, just step up to the canvas with the colour and make some marks. Make a different shape. There could be dots, circles, lines, however you feel you want to make. Just show up to the canvas. I don't know about you two, but sometimes I just want to drop the brush and get all up and personal and do some finger painting. Just want to really get into it.
Oh yeah, I get that sometimes.
Yeah, I'm getting that right now.
Yeah. Listen in to your body knows, right? How it needs to happen.
Mm. But if you do this, a wet one will take it off quite quickly if you're not near water. I think I mentioned that last time. It's wonderful when you don't have a tap nearby.
Oh my goodness. I just put my paint back in order, like right now. Do you think it's working already? Like I didn't leave it scattered all over my studio. Like
Grace and ease.
I put my paints away.
How are we doing? We're ready to move on to mark making 3. Yeah, third colour. All right, so at this stage, we just want to go a little deeper. We want to look inside. And this is sort of more free flowing, whatever comes up for you at this stage around self-worth. And invite you to look at how you perhaps act towards valuing yourself, the space and the time that you create or in your present day life, any practices you may have, any that you may wish to amplify and make more time for, or perhaps new ones that are just coming up now. So it is in that act. And if there is nothing coming up for you, but you want to create space for that, it may be that simple. Yeah. But which actions would you like to move towards? That is one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is from an unworthy standpoint, what are those acts that you wish to move away from? So you could look at it from that aspect as well. So pick a third colour. If you feel that you would like to journal, feel free to. That can sometimes bring something up if you're drawing a blank. Especially not if you're if you're not practicing at the moment, the acts that you would value, just write some down. Something might come to you. Are you feeling drawn to write, Chantel? Or are you going to jump up at the canvas?
I'm going to go to the canvas a little bit, and then I think I'm going to need to do some writing as well. Yeah. Combination for me, I think.
Now, at this stage also, you may just want to turn everything on its head. Yeah, if it all feels a bit known, turn your canvas and something new may come through from the unknown. Just remember to leave a little white space, yeah? Don't fill it in completely.
But my paintbrush wants to keep painting.
Wonderful.
Wants to keep moving.
Well, let's just say it will be what it will be.
I want to get a photo of mine at this stage as well.
How'd you go?
Good.
Yeah.
I was really, I was really enjoying that mark making. And didn't I just say I get bored with just mark? I was just saying just the other day. And then I didn't want to stop. I'm like, oh, my white's all getting filled up, but my paintbrush wants to keep painting. I had to make myself sit down. Otherwise, I would have had no white space.
You just kept on going.
Yes. Well, not much as we, but yes.
It's so meditative, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Felt that.
Creating space while filling in space.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? I felt very immersed on a thought level. It felt very immersive into, I'm doing this, but I was acknowledging certain thoughts related to the prompts coming up, but in a way that I could observe them easier than if I were to sit and do nothing and then try and contemplate these types of prompts just without doing anything else. So it really brought in a sense of ease with me being able to move my body and witness what was coming out.
Yeah. And I then had more realizations about what was coming out after I sat down to journal that I didn't realize when I was up there. But I'm like, oh, that was happening. Oh yes, look what they. So yeah. The marks were bringing out the awareness without me even being aware until I sat down to contemplate. Yeah.
I found I was on the third colour, and sort of shifting through some quite personal aspects of worthiness and unworthiness. And I realised that on the topic of those two, I'd started using up the paint that was left. I just unwittingly on the palette, and I was actually using two different colours for those two different aspects of contemplation. So yeah, shifting visually as well as through the topics internally. Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, it really was. Normally when I do a lot of marks like this, I want to spray a lot. Like I want to spray a lot of water and like Noni, what you're talking about earlier when you're demonstrating, that kind of coral-like pattern that comes out, and I always want to spray. And today it came into my mind to spray. I was like, no, it doesn't seem right to spray today. And I realized as I was journaling and through the 3 lots of mark making, that there was a lot of feeling, a kind of like a rebellious feeling coming up. The rebellious feeling, though, was to do with who's making up the rules. When we talk about these kind of frameworks for what worthiness is, or how we might feel worthy, or what might prompt us to feel worthy or inspire us to feel that way. And so there was that thought of who's making up these rules? Where, what are they really? What are they? And what are they made of? And it was interesting then the act of, usually I do the water. No, I'm not going to do the water. So even though there's little inclination to do the water, it's like, no, hold back from the water. And it just related to that thought of, hold on, who's saying that, who's making up these rules instead of me habitually following them? What if I stand back?
Beautiful. It's like you're literally demonstrating a creative revolution. Just by definition.
Yeah, a painting rebellion.
Yeah.
So
if we're feeling complete with our mark making, might move on to you, Chantal. You can lead us into this next section. Yeah,
let's do it. So so we're going to have a reading here, and then we're going to move into some more painting. So I invite you to get comfortable and listen into this reading, which is called, the reading itself is, the piece is called Occupy Your Life. It is by our intentional creativity teacher, Shiloh Sophia, and it's from the book Tea with the Midnight Muse. Occupy your life. There is no place else to get to, and no other place you are supposed to be. Honest, this is it, really. Your life, your own life. It might not look like you thought it would. It might not feel like you wish it did, but it is yours. And so the question is, what is stopping you from occupying it? Why won't you pitch a tent in your heart? Why not demand the truth about why you aren't looking at the places where you are unjust to yourself? What are you telling yourself so you won't claim your life as it is now, instead of waiting for something else, better, more, brighter to happen? What does it mean to occupy one's life? What does it mean to truly live in one's own body? What does it mean to love, even while you are still hurting? What does it mean to have compassion when you yourself are feeling like a victim? I want to know, what does it mean to you to occupy your own life? And yes, you can choose for it to be a great one, even with how it is right now, really. First, you ask the question, how can I occupy my life? Then you consider, be brave now in your answer. I will go first. What it means to me is I occupy my life. I live like I am living instead of living like I am dying. What it means to me is to keep finding the yes in every single day, to become as present as possible, as often as possible, and to look around, to live the questions, to keep my hands in creation, to stand with my sisters and brothers who occupy the world with chants, tears, and truths. And no matter what, to give my great work to the world, whatever my great work is in each day, to show up for it, to live it, to give it. I want to occupy my life as if I belong to it and it belongs to me. This is living. I just invite you to just take a moment and take that in. And now we're going to go from here to the canvas. And this invitation is to move with an inquiry. What does it feel like to feel worthy? That's the prompt we're working with. What does it feel like to feel worthy? And we invite you to, again, choose a color, whatever calls to you, stands out. And for this, we are checking how our bodies feel and respond to what does it feel like to feel worthy. And so, again, like we were doing earlier, this is not about designing or making it look a certain way at this point. This is more about checking in, how's my body responding to this question? And then how am I moving? How's my body moving with this? And so we're also looking at letting go of the need to control. So we're working with, instead of listening to maybe something that might be more conditioned or seem like someone else has said, oh, it would look good this way, so I'll go this way. Instead, just going, right now, how does my body feel and want to move? And so what we're doing is we're not using a lot of paint, and we're going to move around the canvas, and we're just going to scrub through the parts of the canvas that we feel called to, and just add little bits of paint. And we're going to leave a little bit of space as well. So we'll all be demonstrating. So as we I'm just going to take a little bit of paint here. My canvas is fairly dry, like there's no water that's been sprayed on it recently. My brush is slightly wet, but it's not soaking wet. And I'm just going to move through and just feel into that inquiry. What does it feel like to feel worthy? And then I'm going to just listen in which parts of the canvas calls to me first to go to. And I'm just going to add a bit of color there. But I'm not trying to fill in a space completely right up to the line. So I've got quite a lot of lines on my one to work with. I'm called to this space here. And again, I'm not, there's, you can see, this is what we call glow, where there is a gap left between one line and the part that we're currently painting. And I'm just going to move all through. So I'm not starting necessarily from like one side and I've got to move across to the next, just seeing what feels cool to me. And I'm just keep on scrubbing my brush until that paint runs out that's on there. So I haven't got loads of paint on the end of the brush, and I don't have much water with this either. And you might have parts on you might feel called to do even a few bigger blocks on yours. Mine, I'm feeling called today to do quite small marks and small movements at the moment. Just all over the place though. This one wants to be bigger. I'm taking my time with this one because I really want to check in with my body and where I feel called to move to.
So I've chosen a dry scrubbing brush, so I'm just going to dab a little on the end, and I've chosen a thicker consistency paint rather than one of the fluid paints, because I just find in this temperature it won't stay as damp for as long.
Yeah, and it may be different wherever you are and whatever climate you're in. Yeah, you may find that you want to adjust in certain ways. You might not want too much water about.
So I'm just going to move and tune into the worthiness that I'm feeling within. Yeah, is that where we're going here? I'm just moving with that knowledge that we have now.
Yeah. Just exploring this idea of worthiness. How does it feel to you, and how does your body respond to it?
Maybe a little music. Maybe a little music, Chantel.
I think that could be a nice time to do this. Let's spend a few minutes here.
Yeah.
And gonna have How are we going?
Feels good. It's like a free scrub where we were free writing before. It's like a free scrub.
A free scrub. Yeah. Yeah.
Which one
I
was
felt
it?
myself wanting to move really quickly once I got into it. I started out pausing and checking in, and then I really wanted to just move.
I found it really challenging because I couldn't find any shapes that I liked in my things. But then it was really interesting when I started filling it in. It was like I was filling in the fabric of my life, and then I wanted to tend everywhere because I'm like, it felt like I was just tending all the fabric of my life with the self-worth.
Yeah. Love that.
But it took me quite some time to get to that. I was just like, what am I doing? And I couldn't find the flow for a really long time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started concentrating on the music at the start, and I checked in too. I was like, what am I doing? Not present, and just drifted off with the music.
Yeah. All right. Lovely.
It's a good reminder, really, isn't it? It's that theme of being present to what your intention is.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to lead us in a next level of releasing control. And at this point, you might again choose to change and shift up your canvas. I'm going to do that before we start. I'm going to turn it like this, I think. Not like that. No, like that. Like this. Do you think I'm trying to control it? Because I'm like, I don't. Anyway, I'm like, no, I don't want it like that either, but I'll just go with that, I think. Let's go. See.
And another climate tip before we glaze, you just want to have your canvas, dry to touch. So I'm in a bit more of a humid climate, so just rubbed it down, but I've been very, very present to not using too much liquid this time around.
Yeah, so thanks, Noni. We are going to glaze our painting, and for those of you that don't know what that is, we're essentially going to colour the whole painting in one or two colours or a combination of those colours. And you might be like, oh, I don't know, but I really would like you just to dive in and to do that. So we're just going to allow ourselves just to release into the moment and to just go with what's coming forward. So you can look at your painting, you can look at your paints, you can close your eyes for a moment and just decide on a colour that we're going to use. And then I'll lead you in the next step once I have my colour. How do I want it? So if your painting is dry, you can, and most of mine is dry, you can give it a light spray. Then maybe I'll just use that one. It's a really good idea to have on hand a piece of cloth for the glazing, only if you're dry. We want to water down our paint a little so that it's going to go on nice and fluidly. It's a nice idea not to use just a solid single colour because it adds a bit of depth and something interesting to your work that is not straight out of a bottle. So once you've chosen your colour, just start applying a nice big brush if you can. You're going to get a larger brush. Just start applying some paint. And if it feels
my biggest brush, Bianca, my biggest brush.
Hey, and if it feels a bit heavy, just squirt it down and allow it to run. Just being really aware that you will need a drop cloth of some description if you're at all precious about your floor where you're painting. And just as you're putting on the paint and letting it run, just being aware of just starting to feel that flow, starting to feel that letting go in your body and just moving with your paint and your paintbrush. Helpful if we make up enough paint to do the whole glaze. As you can see, it can seem a little bit intimidating just to cover your whole painting with a layer of paint, but it really does bring things into harmony, and it helps us let go of wherever we thought we were going and allows us to go in a new direction.
I feel like I'm just mirroring my top.
Yes, that's fabulous. I have seen that happen.
I didn't mean to. That was not planned.
I have seen Shiloh start to look like she's blending with her painting. And look, I'm kind of...
Well, I hear your apron. I just didn't notice your apron. it's bringing it too.
I've got this.
I mean, yeah, you've actually got similar, the same colours.
Not at all suggestible. They're not at all suggestible.
No.
Oh, so I'll just let you finish up your glazing then, Naomi. I'm going to lead us in a little bit of automatic drawing, just to free us up a little while we allow our glazes to dry, and to do a bit of a practice pulling imagery out of what could be a swirl of lines. If we work with those lines that we've created out of, or our body has just created out of seemingly nowhere, we can get really rich information from deep within our psyche. So we're going to do that. It'll be a bit of fun.
I'm listening.
No, that's right. I'm just watching you. It's very, very nice to watch.
Very soothing.
It's beautiful. I was like, oh, she's coming deep. I'm like, I like that.
Okay. That feels just.
Okay, whilst you're finishing off, I will just, so I'm going to lead you finish off, and I'm just going to talk about other people might want to get
I'm with you.
paper, some paper set up. And so paper as large as possible is great. And some sort of easy drawing medium. I love willow charcoal. I always have a nice big stash of willow charcoal that I make every spring in my studio, because I just think there's nothing better for automatic drawing, and I love automatic drawing. So give you a little bit of time to get your charcoal and your paper and board set up, or as Chatelle is demonstrating, a large visual diary will work as well. If you can do it standing up, you get that added benefit of being able to allow your body to move and to move into your hips and get that full body dialogue.
That's a good call. That already feels good to stand up.
Yeah, great. So I can't remember where I got this particular drawing practice from, but I think it was Pat Allen again in another one of her books that I love. So I've been doing it for so long, I can't quite remember, but I think it might have been.
And what does it help us do, Bianca? Because it's called automatic drawing. So how does it?
It's called automatic drawing, and yet that can be a bit, there's a lot of things that get called automatic drawing.
Sure.
It's not like we are giving over ourselves to some other being. What we're actually doing is tapping into the movement that that wants to arise naturally out of our body. So what we'll do in a moment is we're going to, if you can, position your paper so that it's at a direct extension from your shoulder. So if you're down, you can, even putting it like on a low bench is good, or standing so that you can, you want to be able to have a direct movement from your arm to your paper, wherever that's going to be, because we're going to do it with our eyes closed.
Okay.
So hopefully your painting behind there will be safe, Noni. You're on mute.
Would chalk be an option?
Yep, chalks are absolutely an option.
I can wipe that off.
Yes.
If I miss the mark, I can wipe that off.
Smart.
Yes. So whilst Noni's getting some sort of, so we're just going to, so what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to center ourselves, whatever that means to you. For me, it's just coming into my heart space, feeling into all parts of my body, particularly my hips, being aware of my feet on the ground, being aware of my shoulders, and having my consciousness centered in my heart space. And what we're going to do then is we're going to close our eyes, and we're just going to move our charcoal or whatever is over the page, filling up the entire page, just keeping on moving until we feel a sense of doneness or completion. And depending on different times, sometimes that might be as short as 30 seconds, but upwards to 2 minutes. We'll see how we go today. And we just want to allow the body just to move unhindered through it. That's why we're doing it with our eyes closed. When we feel that we've come to a sense of completion, we're going to open our eyes and allow what is in front of us to symbolically communicate something to us instantly the moment we open our eyes, before our mind has a chance to get in. It's like, what do we see in that scribble? And then straight away, before you have a chance to start thinking about it, just start using your drawing implement to start making that symbol that you saw, or that shape that you saw, stronger, so that you can hold it there. Because the moment the mind starts wanting to think about it, sometimes it can just pop away again. So we're just going to practice drawing and working with that symbology. And as you're doing that, sometimes words will come forward. You can scribble them on your paper. Yeah. So it's pretty simple, but amazingly has an amazing ability to access our deep archetypal symbology, especially when we work with it regularly. So, yeah, let's see how we go. All right, so just closing our eyes and just letting the body move. Let's just see what comes out. Breathing nice and deeply, making sure that we're not getting stuck or stiff in any part of our body. Might be repetitive movements that the body's wanting to do, might change. So how did you go, Noni? I can't quite see yours.
It's covered in chalk. And thanks to you, I didn't use charcoal. So I just have these. But it's like the first thing I saw was a scroll.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's also that unfolding of the story.
Yeah, beautiful. Excellent.
Excellent.
So if you were going further, you can use that to draw in the scroll that you saw, and you draw in the extra lines. And
I'll go and get a darker pen.
yay. Yeah, beautiful. Well, I thought it was really interesting that I didn't need anything, because mine was just, it is what it is already today. So that was interesting. So I just had, the entire time I was doing it, I had the words "free to be me" just echoing through my head. And then when I opened it up, I'm like, and I was aware that it might look like a flower as I was doing it, but my hands just wanted to go around and around and around. And while I was doing it, I was like, oh, it's going to end up looking like a flower. But when I open it up, I'm like, oh, it's not a flower at all. It's a starburst, an explosion. It's the 0 point, it's the monad. It's the
Oh, yeah.
exploding out. I was like, oh, yay. So all I wanted to do was put a little yellow thing in the center, but I didn't have my soft pastels around. But yeah, so that was cool. And Chatelle, do you want to walk us through what's forming in yours?
Yeah. So for me, the word that's coming up is simply dance.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to add that on here.
Beautiful.
It's dance with an exclamation mark. That's what's coming up. And I think with what showed up, because, so this is quite abstract, what I've outlined.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because it is just simply representing almost like, atoms moving or something like that. Like it's just representing movement.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Yay. So this is a process that I love to do. I love to do it like as a series. Oh, beautiful. Yay.
Look at that.
Yay. So you can do like 3 at a time. If you do it like once a week, and do at least 3 once a week. It's a really fabulous way, or sometimes more. It's a really fabulous way of getting straight into the core of the symbolism that's coming out of your subconscious and your psyche at that time. And it's great for source material for your creativity.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great process.
So move that out of the way. Our canvases should be approaching somewhat dryish, depending on the humidity levels in your abode.
We'll see.
So you may choose to have a look at your painting and turn it round again.
It's pretty good this time, ladies.
Yay.
Well, it's not raining outside. It rained overnight, but it's not raining outside this month. When like last time we met, it was almost impossible to drive without a fan. Yeah, almost there.
No, it's me. We've got the rain now. I don't think it's so heavy that you won't be able to hear me though. It's starting.
I can't hear the rain over the mic.
Yay. Excellent.
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell.
All right. So we're going to take a very brave step now. We're going to choose a colour. And now that we've freed ourselves up and we've got some movement, what I'm going to get you to do is to paint onto the canvas a symbolic expression of releasing all the stories that you choose to release, and a symbolic expression of how it feels to be worthy. So you might choose that to be 2 different things, or you might just choose that to be one big thing, like I am releasing and claiming and occupying me as worthy in one mark. That's totally up to you. And something that you might like as a prompt to to enter that is, how does it feel to be? So you may go, how does it feel to release? How does it feel to be? Any of those things that are calling for you, any of those steps that you still need, that are you at your point in the process? Choose those ones. And you can do it with your eyes closed too, if you like, if you want, because it's about being brave and it's just about stepping into just being.
Are we looking to craft a colour palette at this point where we're just looking to choose 3 colours? Are we shifting into that? We may glaze and come again so people can just still be free in the choices of the colours, whatever calls them.
Well, that's totally up to you, I think, at this process. I think what we want with this is a line that's going to stand out, that you're going to be able to see, but that actually likely is going to form part of the final piece of your paint. So the colour is up to you. Extra glazes is always an option. So if you end up choosing a colour that you don't like, we can glaze over, but choose a colour that's calling to your soul right now, that is about that expression of becoming and releasing and becoming and releasing, whatever that is for you.
So many choices.
You want a brush that's going to hold a decent amount of paint so that you can be fluid and free with your strokes. You're not going to have to stop to fill your brush with paint. So that also helps to start with a wet brush this time rather than a dry brush. And you might want to put a little bit of water into your paint to thin it down a little. It might feel a bit however you feel, but we're going to be brave and we're going to make a big bold mark, because we're going to be that expression onto our paper. Now it may be related to what you drew before, doesn't have to be at all. So just hold that contemplation in your mind, hear it as you're about to take your brush to the page. It might be quite simple. It might have more depth. Like, I answered that inquiry really quickly. It was very, very simplistic movement to me. So we can choose just to have a really simple gesture, or you can choose to take it a little more deeply here. That's totally up to you.
That felt really good.
I'm loving that color and how it's blending with that. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I hadn't seen that till now.
It's a bold color, but not a bold brush.
Yeah.
Because it does, you know, when you see on the canvas, you see colors that are coming forth, and you're introducing something that is just going to be completely new. And it is that stepping into the unknown and being, I guess, dropping. It does embody that act almost of occupying this space without fear and, you know, bottling. It's just like, okay, let's go. Step over that threshold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt very bold doing mine, just a sense of boldness of like, yeah, let's show up and let's express ourselves and just be here, unapologetically here.
So we've gone into being boldly, unapologetically here. Would we like to take some time to let go of any of the stories that are preventing us from being fully, unapologetically here? How do we feel about that? Would we like to take some time to do that? Do we feel like we've anchored and dealt with that in our own ways at the moment?
I wonder if we have given that time and energy through some of the previous mark making.
I think so too.
Yeah, and with the glaze as well.
Yeah. I wasn't drawn to that, and then I was like, well, so if you felt like you wanted to explore that, if you felt like you weren't free or there was something that was holding you back, feel free on the replay to pause here and to work with some of those releasing marks again. Yeah,
that's a wonderful invitation for this point. Yeah.
Okay, Noni, feel free to.
Well, so at this point, you can see me on the screen. Yeah, you can see my edges. At this point, you've gone through a number of layers, and we're getting to this stage where an image, maybe if you just stand, look at the canvas, turn it. If you're being called to turn it, turn it. But stand, look, if there's an image that comes out towards you that you can see through all the marks, you just be still as you do it and see if something comes forward. So listen. There may not be something there, and you may actually hear something that you would like to appear. Everybody has an inner voice that talks in different ways. So it may be that you hear something that's appearing as opposed to see. But there are lots of marks there now, and they can be used to guide you if this is not something that you're familiar or practiced in. And these shapes that you see, this image, what we will do is use a scrubby brush and a color, basically in the negative space, just scrub in to bring forth the image. I will demonstrate. Bianca and Chantel will demonstrate, and you'll see what we mean. So just spend a moment with your canvas and see what comes forward. It may be something that is a bee, it may be a flower, it may be shapes that are of no specific object, but you're really resonant with and you can see them. So be free and adventurous. That's where I'm at. Let's clear the decks if you've been gathering some things on your craft table.
I've been packing up after myself every step of the way.
There's a lot of that feels like there's a sense of self-care in there, isn't there?
Yes, and this is one of the things I will tidy up for everybody else, but I'm not very good at tidying up for myself. So that's why I keep saying it with such surprise. I'm like, my goodness, put the paints away again.
Yeah, interesting.
It's like I'll fold and put away everyone else's clothes and my clothes always just left in a bundle. Not good. No, but
Yeah, I wonder how many of us feel that and do that and notice that we do that. Very quick to serve others.
It's a rather brave step we're taking here.
it is.
So the color that you choose at this point, you might want to think about something that contrasts with the background that you've got there now, so that when you do pull an image forward, it will be more obvious. Yeah, so I have a rather dark background, therefore I may choose something that is lighter. If you have a very light background at this point, you may choose a darker paint just to get that contrast.
Do we want a little bit of music on for a couple of minutes?
Sounds wonderful.
Let's do that. Wow. How are you two going?
There we go.
I'll paint with you lot any day.
Right.
Please.
Mm. It was streaming light. It was it was felt. So looking at what I had there, it's like, thank you, Bianca, for the free form drawing that we did. So that kind of energy that made its mark on its canvas before, it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, I can see some shape. Yeah, it was creating new shapes on top of that, really, that came forward, and it had that embodiment of streaming light.
It has that embodiment of that glacier that you were describing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It really does. It's like,
Yeah, it's very textural.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I love that drawing exercise too, for breaking out of what should be.
Yeah.
Sometimes at this point in the process, I can feel like, oh, what should be there? Oh, it should be this, this form of a rose or a face or a tree, that I must, use something that exists and that I know really well. And actually today it was easier to go, oh no, let's just paint and bring color. Oh, there's another color that wants to come in. Oh, let's just move those streaks out there. It's okay. Let's be in the process.
Yeah.
Not heading towards, let's take this external shape that I know and recognize and am very familiar with, and that's what I must produce.
Yeah. Excellent. Yay. I just enjoyed that so much. I was like, oh, I had to hold myself, because I'm like, I keep wanting to just run off on my own little story that was happening in there. Yeah. So, yeah. I'm really talking about your glacier. I'm looking at this now, thinking and feeling into how similar the light that's coming was still not quite as bright as what was in my vision that happened when I was doing the free write. Yeah. But it has got a lot of that that freedom and that warmth and love and lightness. Yeah, come through. So
love that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's very abstract where we're going, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Visually.
Yeah.
Oh, no, mine's got a whole story. I'm just holding back. Mine is a bird with making a sunset over the dark water with a hill behind. Like, I'm like, hang on, that's not this. Hold your horses, Bianca. But it was there was a whole narrative going on there for mine. Yeah.
That's an interesting choice, though, isn't it? As to, do I go with that story and go into that story and see where that takes me? Do I step back and know that story's there?
Yeah.
And see, are there others?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we'll see. Yeah. Only the painting knows.
Well, so acknowledging what came up for us and being aware of that feeling of being worthy, maybe becoming more present for us through this, perhaps just spending time in that contemplation now is, just bringing in streaming light. If you go back to your intention, like reflect at this point, there, you may be seeing some sort of manifestation on the canvas or reflection of where you are heading. So as I did with streaming light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
Right. Shall we flow on? We've actually got a break coming up very soon. However, we did want to invite you to do a little further, go a little further with the canvas and the painting, and then we'll have time for like a 10-minute break there. So what we wanted to look at here is what is the energy that is present as the forms are showing up and coming forward, whatever forms you're bringing forward, whatever forms you are choosing to have more in the background. And so what we want to do here is add in some energy lines and bring in some light. And the way we do that, there's a couple of different ways to do that. And so it involves conversing with and viewing and witnessing what your images here and deciding where do you want to acknowledge that there is energy or a light source. Now, we're not necessarily talking from a technical perspective of where a light source should be. It's more where a light source could be and is by your choice of what you are seeing. And therefore, if there is, say, for me, I'm actually just looking at my canvas as I'm talking about this. I'm just seeing, I just want there to, I'm feeling like I'm going to start here in the center. And I want to choose quite a light color. And what I want to do for my lights is I'm going to choose this cool yellow, but I'm also going to have white on my palette as well, because I want to be able to mix the two or use one or the other. And what I want to do then is acknowledge where I'm choosing to see light and energy. I'm actually going to put them both in the same little space on my palette, some white and some yellow. And I quite like doing that often with having a couple of colors available to me rather than just one. And I'm just going to clean off the darker paint that was on this brush here. I'm using one with a pointed tip because I want to be a little bit finer with with the lines I want to create here to start with. But as always, we always invite you to also go with what you feel called. If you feel like doing something stronger right now, go ahead and do it. What's calling to me is I'm getting a little bit of yellow and a little bit of white. And I just want to acknowledge this space in here is all going to be light, but I don't want to cover it all with a light color. But what I want to do is add in some lines. And I just want to acknowledge this point here. So I'm going to add, there's going to be this point in the center. And for now, I'm not being too precious about it. I just want to acknowledge that there is a point of light there, and I might add to it later and make it go out fuller. But I just want to acknowledge that it has light coming out of it. And so I'm doing a series of lines to express that. But the other way that I could do it is I could do some more like kind of a color block of a lighter color coming in. If I really wanted to express that, it's quite strong there. It's quite strong in that direction. And I'll also I'm going to come back to that center part, but I want to do this around some of that. For me, these blue lines are the lines I want to work with as being having light within them. And also I want some movement in there, like that they're like lit up. And so I want to acknowledge that. So for this one, the way I'm going to acknowledge it actually is some like these kind of not quite dots, just very quick spots there. And the other thing that I could do here is I can do a clean line like that as well. And then I could pull the paint out from that line and show that there is light bouncing off it. And then I could even scrub that in further. So I don't have any water here. I don't have too much light. I don't have any water on my canvas. I'm just using the brush to scrub that light out. That's right. That's what I want to focus for mine, that there is light around all these blue parts. And so I'm going to play with however that wants to be expressed as I'm feeling right now, and whatever feels right for me and how my body is responding to it. So there are several ways that you can bring that in.
I love that. So we're literally painting with intention around energy lines, and quite often the painting process itself, you're using all the paint on the brush. So, as it gets towards the end of the strokes, it's getting fainter and fainter and fainter. And that energy has then been expressed onto the canvas. There's many ways to look at it, but yeah, in that last step, it's like when my palette ran out of paint, well, then the shapes were done. Yeah, the glacier's sort of light streaming was done because I'd run out of paint. So you could look at it like that. If you're new to painting and you're looking for guidance, well, when your brush has run out of paint, that's that line. When your palette's run out of that color, well, that's that shape.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can make a choice if you want to pull out, if there's any kind of, you can see like globs of paint that have joined together and a bit thicker, you can pull them out if you like. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of music on and let's add in some light. So how's that feeling?
Oh, it's feeling so good. I can't get enough light. I'm like, I just want more.
Yeah,
And more.
no, I've gone crazy with my lights.
You're like
Just,
looking
the
at
whole
that.
thing just wanted lights.
Yeah. Oh. I'm like, this is not thick enough. This needs to come right out. Like,
Yeah, feel that. Yeah.
I could do another half hour there.
yeah.
Well, yeah, actually, I think that's a fair point, though. If you're watching this later, it says you can feel free to pause and feel free to pause at any point of this process and go for as long as you feel you need to until you feel a sense of completion. So you can be working on it and then step back, take a look from a distance at the image, and then decide, okay, what else is needed? What's needed next? Is there more that's needed? And so it's a good way to practice that listening and awareness of what's feeling complete, what wants some more attention.
Oh, right. I'm with you.
Well, that's all good. No, keep on painting by all means, because I'm actually going to share an invitation of what we're going to do next. We are going to take a break here for about 10 minutes. And we want to invite you to take an action where you go on your break, besides your like kind of regular break type stuff. But taking an intentional action to acknowledge feeling worthy, or acknowledging being open to feeling worthy. So this is an invitation to take an intentional action and to have an experience in the space that you're in, wherever you are located. So this is a way to start to put into practices of worthiness and taking those actions towards feeling worthy as a regular thing, as a daily thing, as integrated into your life. So some examples would be if you feel like lighting a candle in your space or lighting some incense, or maybe you have some plants and you'd like to take a few minutes now to go and water them. Maybe you want to make yourself a lovely cup of tea or a cup of coffee, or get yourself a beverage of whatever you fancy right now. Maybe you want to simply open a window or just go outside for a few minutes and in bare feet and touch the grass and the earth with your bare feet. Maybe you want to put on socks. Maybe it's cooler where you are. Maybe you want to put on socks or fluffy slippers or something that feels cozy. Maybe you want to wrap a shawl around yourself or a blanket. Maybe you want to splash water on your face, or any number of things that you could do for yourself at this point. What do you feel called to do that would be intentionally acting on feeling worthy? So we're going to take a break for about 10 minutes and then we will be back. And so we invite you to take that action.
See you soon.
Yeah. I'm going to put some music on for a few minutes while we're on break. It's good to have a break. Well, how are we feeling?
Oh, it would be helpful to come off mute if one's going to talk after.
Yes.
Oh, you kept on going and going. Noni didn't have a break.
Oh, wow. Look at that. It's very glacier-like now.
Yeah. Did you do action in your space, Noni? Sorry, I didn't realise I didn't see. Don't worry, don't.
Okay.
That mouthful. I'll talk to Chantal.
I also snacked. That was part of my action.
Okay.
And I lit some fresh incense as well.
Beautiful.
Which is very nice. And I waved that about the whole place. And so beautiful to have a nice smell.
Yes.
Radiating around the place.
I remade my bed properly because I'm always getting in trouble for the fact that I don't make the bed well enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I don't care, but I don't. It's a presence. It's like take time to be present with the things that make a difference to me, I think is something that I will benefit from today. Yeah, so that was very nice. Probably need some practice in making my bed very well. And I filled the water filter. And I had a snack and I made a cup of tea.
Me too. I made a fresh cup of tea. I've got hibiscus tea going, which is nice.
Very nice. I have a festivity. It's a very nice Southern Light Herbs blend. And
I've gone with aqua. It's about as flash as I can call it. It's water. Sounds like a tea, maybe, if I call it from the language. I found myself doing chores, lighting incense as well, so making the space fragrant, but feeding animals, and the chores of going to the wee break and getting some water. And as I did this and moved through the space, I'd come back. I'd make a line and then I'd spray and then I'd drift off again. I was literally, it reminded me of that really beautiful, if you say it and you walk it, is that everywhere I walk, I lay the lines of the divine. And it is that tinkle feeling that when you say that and you're moving with energy in that way, and then I'm coming back to the canvas, and it's almost like an embodiment action, like bizarre. Anyway, that was my experience.
Very nice.
I love it, and I love witnessing what's then come out from that, like just seeing the change in the image.
Yeah, just letting it be, letting me be. Just water finds its own path, doesn't it? It just finds its way. So it felt right for me.
That's fun.
Yay. So are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. So we're going to do a little visioning now. So I'm going to do visioning with our paintings. So I want you to sit facing your painting or pick your painting up and just gaze into your painting for a little moment. Just sit really square on to your painting and just really allow the painting to melt into your awareness. Just exactly how the painting is now. Acknowledging what you've experienced by taking action in your space. And how does this change or affect your painting? And as you gaze at your painting, I invite you if you like, to close your eyes and to visualize your painting on your inner screen, the place where you visualize inside. Just see the painting in your mind's eye. And if you like, imagine stepping into your painting. What does it feel like to become your painting? What do you observe, see, sense, or smell? Do you notice any symbols, any patterns, anything that might be speaking to you, moving, becoming into your painting? Just allow anything that comes forward to do so now. Okay. And now allow yourself just to step back out of your painting, see it on your visionary screen, and then coming back into yourself, having your painting in front of you, and just now turn to your journal or a bit of paper and write down anything that you saw, felt, or experienced as you merged with your painting. While you do that, I'm going to do that with mine. Now ask yourself the question, how does this change or affect your painting, what you saw when you did your visioning? We're going to turn now to our painting, and we're going to work with the changes that we saw. So we may choose to bring another colour to the canvas. We may choose to do a selective glaze. We may choose to block out some areas with some colour blocking techniques that we worked with earlier. Or we may choose to bring in some symbols that we saw. At this point, it's a very fluid and personal direction that we can take our pictures in. So feel free to do that and share along the way if you like. And otherwise, we'll come back and chat and share when we've done our process.
Sounds very good. Do you want some music playing while we do this part for
yes.
minutes?
I've got a problem. I've used so many paintbrushes today that I may have to pause and go and get some. It was with that. It's more paintbrushes than I've ever used for a painting.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I've used every shaped paintbrush that I have.
Okay. I'll be back in just a moment.
Thing. We're going to get started.
So we could probably stay with this part for quite some time if we wanted to, and we could probably use all of the techniques that I discussed in terms of the colour blocking, the adding in symbols, the bringing in the selective glaze. So you may really like to pause here if you are listening to the replay and really take your time. And that may be 10 minutes, an hour, a day, a month. Just allow it to be what it needs to be. But for the sake of today, we'll just give it a little bit longer just to finish up what we're doing.
Gosh, I feel like I could continue for hours at this part.
Yes, yes.
There's just so many possibilities rising as I go through it.
Mm. I feel like these poor little things down here are so rough. I'm like, oh, it's going to take so long to get all the way across. They haven't been tended with as much care as they should.
Oh. Noni, you're on mute, but I really want to hear what you're saying as you point to what I've seen come out on your canvas.
Yeah, these just light beings have just what came through in that visioning process you led us on, Bianca. So they're calling for some shadow in terms of design. And maybe even some more light. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's just, they're like, decorate me, bring me forward, adorn. Yeah, there's a lot of movement in their shapes. I'm not sure if on camera with the lighting in here.
Oh, I can see the movement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's
big
a
time.
fair amount of movement in all of them.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, they're very free and very flowing in their movement.
Yeah, and there's that stream of sort of energy moving through that connects them all to. Can you see this original? Yeah, so they've individually come forward, but they're also still connected. Yeah.
Still connected, and they seem very strong in themselves. Like, even though there's curves in the way they're moving and the way they position, there's like you can see they're very strong in the way they've come forward.
Yes, they've all got backbones.
Yeah.
A joyous way.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I in my visioning, I saw myself as this big symbolic bird, and my children appeared under my wings, under each wing. And it made me have a chuckle, because then after I saw that, it reminded me of a drawing my daughter did of me as an owl with both children under a wing.
Oh.
It's very cool. But I was not given, in my very, very quick visioning, exactly how to symbolically represent my children. And I was thrown. I'm like, how do I quickly symbolically represent my children? So I've popped them in as those kind of flower sun things.
Yeah.
And after I did that, then all these other ones appeared down here. So that was,
wow.
I was trying to paint them really fast. I'm like, there's lots, there's got to be more.
There's so many to capture. Yeah. They all want to be in there.
Yes. So these little flower sun beings down there.
I love how your children's symbols came up as these sunflower type symbols.
Yeah, and they're very powerful and strong in their own right, but they're not overpowering me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that comes through. I love that. Yeah, the visioning was interesting because I went into my painting, as I often do, with those visionings. A painting comes to life for me, and I'm in amongst the painting, and I was like tumbling about and cartwheeling over things, and like sliding under things. I was like, this is great. And so when I went to and at first when I went to the canvas, I thought, I don't know. I really don't know what's coming next. But then these kind of petal-like blue and white petal-like symbols wanted to come about, and they wanted to be in the spaces where there wasn't so much, so not overpowering the light that had already been put in. And so it seemed very important to bring those forward. And then as we were drawing to the end of our time doing this part, I realized I could see so many possibilities of where things can now fit into some of the other spaces that haven't had much attention before. And I thought this was very interesting because it's showing me perspectives that I haven't considered previously, because it's actually a very different type of painting for me. Wouldn't normally create this type of more abstract image. And sometimes the abstraction, I think for me, can seem a little bit overwhelming as to what to do with it. Whereas it's very interesting to be in it and go, oh, the next thing just arises. And there's no need to worry about, well, what's it going to finally look like? Or what's it going to be? Or what would other people expect it to look like? Right. And I feel like that relates a lot to what we've been talking about with feeling worthy, what influences us in feeling worthy.
Sounds like you've reached a point of acceptance and isness.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say acceptance, and notice that, because that's when we did some journaling just previously, I wrote love and acceptance is connected, and I underlined acceptance 3 times. So there you have it.
Should we shift into more, potentially, if you choose, this time could be some adjustments that we could put in some more detail to what you've just done. Again, we're operating in a space of just be fluid and be allowing. Yeah. And I mean, I personally like to shift into a place of really starting to adorn and embellish with a finer brush, and it's almost like savoring, and at the same time just bringing in more detail if you choose, or you can be quite free in this point. So just embody how you are now, be aware of how you are now, and as you're at the canvas with the brush and in the intention, celebrate it. We're shifting into that state of joy as we get towards the end of this painting, and really reflecting on where we were before, where we are now, and notice within yourself if there's stillness, perhaps acceptance, where Chantel has expressed that in writing. Just potentially even acknowledge that you're in a new place, that you're in a new space, and that awareness has come to a point where you may bring this into your everyday life, and you may have already decided that there's certain things there that were limiting or lacking, for want of a word, in terms of giving to yourself, where now you're more mindful because you've spent this time with yourself in a creative process, and some new information has come through, perhaps. Yeah. So we can let's continue at the canvas, but just be present to that state of shift that you're in now. Does that sound like a good place to lift off from now? Yeah.
Yeah, it does indeed.
Okay.
All right, so we'll spend a bit of time here right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Jenny.
Like there's that reflection, but also in the process we're adding more detail. So we are shifting into a design state, which you can beautify what you have there if you choose, or perhaps you may stand back and have a look at what you're there and you want to add a bit more shape if you choose. Yeah, be free.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, what's happening? How's it going?
I'm enjoying the bounce on the canvas of the doom, 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 doom,
Me
doom,
too.
doom, 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 playing the canvas. Boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom.
Me too, because I'm doing lots of dots. And so I've got a whole drumming thing going on.
I'm still following the water lines here.
Mm.
Be like water. How are we doing for time? Have we been running for 8 hours? Are we on track to 4 hour?
I feel like we could run for hours more, but perhaps we roll into some final invitations for folks at home.
Yeah.
And some shares and what's next.
Perfect. Just dreamy. Okay. Let's put the paintbrush down. Put it down. Lay it down. Bit more defined now, yeah?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they're coming forward. I love it.
Oh, I can see so much there. That's me tomorrow. Whatever I had planned, I don't have it anymore. It's gone. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Look at that bird in flight, Bianca. That is some serious outstretched arm. That is like the poem, the reading earlier, occupy your life. It's like, occupy the garden.
Oh, yes.
You're on mute, Bianca.
Thank you. Yes, that feels good. I like that.
Does feel good.
Yeah.
Feels today's process feels very deep. I feel personally. I feel like there's just hours more I can spend with the image and adding to it and journaling in between, and yeah.
We had any epiphanies?
Yeah.
Go on, Bianca.
Well, I don't know that I'm particularly that called to share, but I was wondering about all these flowers down here, and I think that it's like that I can't do anything for these down here unless I am like this, unless I am giving to myself. But this is yes. So that's that realization that I can't really do anything for anyone else unless I am feeding me first, which is, seems like it would be pretty obvious. We always get told that, but sometimes we need a little bit of reminding.
Sure.
Yeah. Especially when we get distracted. So that feels very nice. Very nourishing. Feels very nourishing. Yes.
Yeah, love that.
As to what, what can come forth when one nourishes themselves fully and properly.
Yeah.
Levels. Yeah.
What changes, right? When we pay that kind of attention to ourselves. Oh, yeah. I feel like I still need to sit with mine to get more clarity, I think, on the language of what's coming up. Because I think mine was very feelings based.
I'm loving just looking at it.
Yeah, so it's very feelings based. Lots of response in the body, and there's lots of visuals, so they're sometimes hard to describe succinctly. So I'm going to sit with that, but I will share on our Twitter and our Discord when the words come. They're not even coming now out of my mouth, but when the words come and they go on paper and they can be shared, I will share them.
I was just, it's all right. We'll get to do that later.
That's a perfect point, just to, for those of you that are watching and new to what we have been sharing. We had another offering last month that you're welcome to also view if you haven't already. It's another 4-hour journey in a creative process. But if you would like to join us and I guess spend more time doing what we're doing and offering something with perhaps more depth, a 1 day or a 2-day offering where we dive deeper and we bring intentional creativity in its fullness in an offering. So we're creating a 4-hour bite-size experience. Yeah, there is a lot more to it if we were to offer you a 1 day or a 2-day experience. It's quite immersive, and with the intention that you set, it's quite personal, and clearly the paintings can come out quite different, and so it's a very unique experience to you. But it's also that held container and that curated container and a space where you may meet sort of like-minded people and build friendships and have that free-flowing communication with others that also join us, because it is a creative space and it is in its development sort of stage where we're really feeling into how we work together and this technology. And so far we're loving it. So come join us if you please. And in Discord, if you've not been there, it's quite an interactive space. So if there's somebody else there that is also doing this 4-hour painting, that you could literally talk there and then at will, freely in that space. It's got that sort of technology bent to it to you could even share your screens and talk face to face, a bit like Zoom, only more leans towards free will. It's just like you don't have to set up a meeting and all that jazz. You just exchange a written chat. Let's go and chat, and we turn up in voice and or face at your choice.
Or you could just arrange to pop into the Muse Cafe and paint there together.
Yeah.
And then anyone else that would like to come and join you would be able to pop in, and one of us might even pop in to say hello.
Yeah, so easy. Just come to the Muse Cafe. It's a space to hang out,
open studio,
create together and chat. Yeah, continuous open studio. Whatever time of day or night suits you.
Yeah. And we'll definitely be sharing our paintings there. So there may be potentially work in progresses now, but we will share our finals as well if they go that way. I know mine will. I've just got where Chantal, you mentioned the feelings. Mine is just wanting to sort of be in that free-flowing energy state that I seem to be bringing through in this painting, and just delve more into how that is relating to worthiness and explore that more. So yeah, at this point I've got more I want to do in that topic. Yeah.
Well, that seems like a lovely point to wish you all well and lovely processes, and we would love to hear about your process and see your images, and you can feel free to share in that Discord space as well. So we would love to see what you've come up with, because as you can see from our examples, it's you just don't know what's going to show up for each person, and it's fascinating to see. So that's also a fun part to it all.
Yeah.
So with that, we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Doubt. Yeah.
for your company.